No es.
No
Just
es.
Larry Mike.
Welcome, sports fans. Welcome to this week's episode of This Week at the Park. I'm your host, Chris Wilson. Got a great show. My main man, Brian Tinsman, and Tariq El-Bashir. What is going on, fellas?
Doing great.
Hey, it's a free agency frenzy. Let's get right into it. We have signed officially Adam Hayward, a linebacker. We got a little clip on him. Let's see how he feels about being a Redskin.
All through my career, I've been obviously the leader in Tampa, and I don't. I'll make sure I push our guys and I compete, and I tell them, because I don't like not seeing our name, the team name, below 5 or 10 is.
I've been too good. Okay, around here.
Yeah, and but I think it's easy to turn around, man. That's just simply getting guys to buy in. And you have the right guys on the field, and having that guy that's between the coach and the players, that the coach respects, that he can come to and address the players, and the players respect, and they can having that guy. And if that's me, I'm hoping it is, then it's going to be a great experience, because then we'll get the team going. And when guys start playing again, and they love playing special teams, and you love just going down and hitting somebody and doing that, free opportunity, they'll turn things around.
So we're getting to know some of these new guys. I like this pickup. What do you guys think?
Big fan. This is a Lorenzo Alexander type. I mean, he's Chris Wilson type if you want. He's a guy who's he's been through the fire. He's had his troubles. He's overcome them, and he's a guy who really loves hitting people. And that's somebody that you have to have at the top of your special teams chart. You have to have that guy who's willing to teach these young guys that this is not the
it's not a game.
Right. This is not just a game. You are out there to hit people as hard as you can and
impose our will.
Exactly.
Right. And if you look at the depth chart, like you said, Lorenzo Alexander, he's been gone. Reed Dowdy, special teams captain, he's a free agent. We don't know what's going to happen with him.
Right.
But the big thing is, Brian Keel had started to really emerge as an inside linebacker backup, but also a special teams ace. He's coming off a torn ACL. We don't know when he's going to be ready or if he's going to be back, because he's also a free agent.
Right.
Hayward slides right in and becomes that integral piece to a special teams unit that really struggled last year.
And there's no reason to believe that they can't bring back a Josh Hull, they can't bring back a Brian Keel, Trenton Robinson, the guys like that.
Well,
but this is the guy to lead them.
I think it's a good pickup. It's a win-win situation. The organization, just like you guys said, gets a great guy who can play special teams, and the special teams who wasn't too good last year can't go anywhere but up. So I think it's a great pickup. Everybody's going to benefit. I know Coach Katwika is happy. Let's meet some more of these new Redskins. Andre Roberts, a wide receiver. Now, he's a guy that can contribute. First, let's take a look at a tape on him and how he's going to contribute as a Redskin.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to go into the situation expecting to do everything. I can help out anywhere. Anything they ask me to do, I'm be really willing and ready to do.
And I understand you have kind of a signature special touchdown celebration. Can you tell me what that is and where it comes from?
Yes, it's a salute. It comes from my school. I went to the Citadel Military College, South Carolina, and that's where it comes from. Just remembering where I came from, and just showing my support for what I did at the school and the guys that support our country.
Another great pickup for the Redskins. Again, I like this pick. I'll tell you why in a second. Tell me what you guys think.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that fits into that Josh Morgan role a little bit. He's not the same type of player, but I think he's the direction that Jay Gruden wants to go with this offense. He's a fast guy.
Young.
Exactly, young. He can help out on special teams, but I think he's going to be a big contributor on offense, and he's going to be another weapon for Robert that he really needed last year.
Yeah, I think the team is interested to see if he can become a number two, a legitimate number two. You look at his 2012 stats when he went for over 750 yards out of there in Arizona. I mean, those it's almost number two numbers right there. You look at his size, 5'11". I could see him used in the slot. And you know what? This team still doesn't have a kickoff returner or a punt returner. He didn't return last year, but he returned his rookie and his second year for the Cardinals. So there's a possibility he'll slide in there too.
And a guy who was trained by Larry Fitzgerald, who's just one of the best. So.
And I believe he had a great punt return average now in college.
Yeah.
I want to say it was about 19 yards.
He makes that first guy miss. I watched the
per return.
Yeah.
So
another thing that's good is that he's a guy who you can get the ball in his hands and he makes plays afterwards.
Yards
he's a good
after the catch.
Yards after the catch.
This is my guy. You heard me talking about a Percy Harvin type. This is a guy that can contribute on special teams as well as offense. with the kickoff return rules and the ball getting moved up and everything, it's kind of getting taken out of the game a little bit. That's why you got to have a guy that's skilled enough to be able to get in that receiver position and contribute more than just a gadget guy.
And if you follow RG3 on Twitter, he's a big fan of this move too. You know he's out there waiting for some more weapons, and he likes this one.
And this guy's excited to be here. That's the other thing. I mean, he is a young guy, but when he was walking in yesterday, he's out there with his phone taking pictures of the door walking in. He's excited to be here. So I think that he's going to fit in. They're going to figure out how to use him. This is a guy that they targeted. Obviously, they hit him up right into free agency. The deal didn't get done till yesterday, but this is a guy that they're excited to have here.
We're talking new Redskins. We're talking new faces. In case you just joined in, I'm your host, Chris Wilson, my man, Brian Tinsman, and Tarek El-Bashir. Brian?
We got a kids camp for you guys this summer. Spring is just around the corner, so it's time to start planning for summer. Obviously, what are your kids going to do during the summer when school is out? What are your kids going to do?
Son plays hockey. My daughter.
And they're going to go to this Redskins camp. So sign up for this Redskins summer camp program in Northern Virginia and Richmond. Visit redskins.kidscamp.com. Sign up today and receive $50 off.
Wow, $50 off. More new faces of the Redskins. We have Sean Laval, if I said that right.
Laval. I had to look it up too.
Yeah, Sean Laval now. Another pick I know I'm a broken record. I like this pick as well. I'm going to tell you why, but first I got to hear from my guys. What do you think about this pickup?
Well, I mean, he's a big guy. He's young, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's been a starter the last 3 years in Cleveland. So, you don't become an every game starter if you don't have some ability. Now, I've talked to some people around the league. He did have his struggles, but I feel like the Redskins believe that they're getting a guy at an affordable price that they can help become a better pro. Because he's a young player. The question I have is, he's a right guard. The Redskins already have a right guard. Are they going to do some shuffling along that line? Are they looking to replace some people?
I believe just the threat of that is healthy for this football organization.
Competition's great.
Especially when you're protecting RG3, especially when you're blocking for Alfred Morris.
Right.
You got to have that good competition.
And something that's really nice is that you're looking for those offensive linemen with the mean streak. And, of course, whatever happened with the Dolphins this year, this is totally different. You're talking about a guy who's nasty out on the field, though.
Yes.
And if you don't believe that, ask J.J. Watt. If you remember that game a couple of years ago where J.J. Watt just looked like he'd come out of a war zone, that was after a run-in with Sean Laval. Now, that was a personal foul on Laval, and he got fined for all that. But this is a guy who's nasty. He's a guy who's not going
Football is not played by Saints.
Exactly. Football
shouldn't be.
Right, it's not, except for the New Orleans Saints.
It's an imposing of wheels.
Good one, Charlie.
Right, and when you're talking about improving the running game, getting those pass, rushers off of Robert Griffin III, this is a guy that you want in there. He may be a little bit, he may need some polish, but he's a guy who I think has learned his lessons while still being really nasty out there.
When it comes to the nasty, I'm excited about this guy being tag team partners with Trent Williams. Not to say the other O-linemen aren't good, but we all know that this guy is nasty, and you get more nasty. As a defensive player, trust me, you hate that. When you have to really battle a guy, let's keep it football, but when a guy's going to challenge you, and you may beat him a play, but he's coming right back more nasty.
Angry.
Yeah. And he has other O-linemen, 300-pound guys that are more nasty. It's hard to reckon with. So getting into this scheme, running game, passing game, adding his motor and his nastiness to it, I'm excited to see it. Now, let's talk about some Redskins that you already know. I've been talking about this guy. We need him. He was very necessary. We have signed officially linebacker Perry Riley. Must sign in my book.
And he's a guy who answers a lot of questions for the Redskins going into free agency. Now, if you bring back Riley, he's a guy who knows the system. That actually leaves open some options now because you don't necessarily have to bring in a veteran guy. You have Keenan Robinson in-house. You bring in a guy like Hayward. You can draft a guy if you need to, but you can also go out and get a veteran guy if the money's still right on some of these guys that are going to last a little bit. I think it's a great move. It gets that continuity, and that is the most important. That's the focal point of the defense right there, that inside linebacker in the 3-4.
Talking to people around the league, people like Perry Riley. They want to see him do more. They think there's not just another notch. They think there's 2 more notches there. And one thing I'm curious about.
When they take him off the special teams,
that's what I was going to say.
Be able to
that's what I was going to say.
How many about a guy that's starting off a defensive series after sprinting down for 4 quarters.
I got the sense that he's not going to be playing 20 snaps on special teams next year.
Thank you for Adam Hayward.
Yeah.
We also signed Santana Moss back, a veteran guy who can keep Pierre Garçon contained in a good way, because we know he's a little firecracker as well. And also to be able to kind of mentor a little bit Andre Roberts. So, his role is decreasing. He's used to his all-star, but we love him as a Redskin, and he brings fire as well. Don't sleep on the little guy.
I was going to say, you know what? I mean, it's clear that he's lost a step, but he still has value to this team. You need those solid pros, those veterans in the locker room and on the practice field so the young guys can look at them and see how the game is played. Exactly. And you know what? And like you said, he keeps guys in check. I mean, he might have backpedaled a little bit after those comments about RG3, but he knew what he was saying. He was telling the young,
he knows how the media works.
He was telling the young man, hey, this is we, this is not I.
Exactly.
And you know what? RG3 spoke differently to the media the rest of the season.
2 things I really like. Ike Hilliard was here in 2012 when they won the NFC East, and that was a banner year for Santana Moss. He's a guy who's not going to go out and catch 50, 60 balls anymore, but he caught 8 touchdowns that year, led the team. And 2 other guys, Leonard Hankerson and Aldrick Robinson, guys that the Redskins need to take that big step.
Robinson.
Those are guys that
going to be
look
challenged,
up.
especially with this Roberts.
Sure, but those are guys that look up to a guy like Santana Moss. I think they need that extra year of his mentorship, his veteran leadership to show him how it's done.
Catch some punts, Robinson. Moss is not going to do it. We're talking about what's next for the Redskins. But before we get into that, let's take a look at a short video clip by Rich Tandler talking about what the Redskins are going to do, or what he thinks they're going to do long term.
I think they might be trying to wean themselves off of free agency. Once you get into free agency, it's hard to get out of it because you draft guys, but they can't get on the field because you've got this $5 million a year player in front of them, and you can't really cut him even if the guy shows some promise. So I think you kind of get these smaller contract guys who might be a stopgap, might be only certainly have the option if you want to release them in a couple of years, you can. But that's really the only way to get out of the cycle is just stop paying guys a bunch of money, and then you can start to build through the draft, which is the way that everybody says you ought to do it.
Woo! I like Rich. That's my guy. Well, we're talking about what's next. I think we're gonna go for safeties. Had it down on my notes. You got this defense. You got Hazlitt. He has his Mike linebacker, and that continuity has to be there with the safeties. He's like your Mike linebacker, your quarterback down the field. What position group do you guys think we're going to go for next?
I like safety. I also like offensive tackle. I think that signing Laval, bringing that guy in, answers one of their big questions. It certainly adds to the mix, but they need more talent at that right tackle position.
I'm going to go with safety and possibly a cornerback. Remember, Josh Wilson is a free agent.
Hazlitt is a risky.
Right. They need to bring in someone who can cover the slot. They had some interest in Corey Graham, the former Raven. He ended up signing with the Bills. Right. But that's the kind of player they're going to look for. A guy who's going to come in around 2-3, maybe $3.5 million, but is a competent player they can put in between D'Angelo Hall and David Amerson. Maybe a young guy they can groom, because there's not really anyone in the system that can step up into that role.
And piggybacking off of what Rich said, I think that you can bring in a guy at a number like that isn't going to block Amerson. I think Amerson is your long-term answer there. Right. But if it's a guy that can probably play inside and outside, I think that kind of swing role is somebody that they're going to be looking for, so that Amerson can continue growing at the same pace.
Captain Munnerlyn is still available.
Still out there.
I like it.
Guys.
Well, the show is called This Week at the Park. Let's take a look at what's going on at the park right now.
So that's what's going on.
That is what's going on. We're going to start the training. Workouts are going to be coming up, and then you got the OTAs. But before we get this place warm, we got a lot of nothing going on. Free agency frenzy. Brian, it's been a pleasure. I understand that You're not going to be with us. We just want to wish you farewell. Anything you like to say to the fans and Redskin Nation or the organization before we leave?
Just love to say, guys, that it's been a pleasure. Been a pleasure writing for you guys every day over the last 3 years. Couldn't have asked for a better start to my career, and it's always going to be Redskins for me. So hail to the Redskins, and keep the show going, guys.
Gonna miss you, man.
Keep it going strong. And it's windy outside.
Best of luck.
Even if we couldn't get the video going,
Yeah, it's cold out
50-mile-an-hour winds outside. If there are any free agents coming to the park today, please drive.
It
Take a
gets
bus,
warmer.
take a taxi. Don't fly in. This is a terrible day to fly.
It gets better, especially when the Redskins win. Well,
The will to win.
that's the episode. Thanks for joining us here on This Week at the Park by Audie. I'm your host, Chris Wilson, Brian Tinsman, Tarek El Bashar. We'll see you next time.